Hello everybody and welcome back to another book related video here on my channel. In today's video, I am so excited to be showing y'all my 2025 book journal and also looking back on our past ones for 2024 and also 2023. If you guys have been to my channel before, any of my book related videos, you might know that I don't do the traditional reading journal where I actually have like a notebook and I write in it. This is actually for my Bible, but I do use this for thumbnails. It looks a little bit more pleasing. I don't do this style book journal. I actually make my own templates on Canva, not sponsored, and print them out and have them pretty much for an entire year inside of this binder. So I do have a reading journal. I say I have a reading journal, but it's like a reading binder, I guess you could say. And I want to flip through because I changed it up a little bit this year. So I definitely want to show you past years and then of course get into this year's. Before we fully hop into this video, if you are new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Julia, and for the most part, I do videos on books, vehicles, or photography. Those are my three main subjects that I love to do. And here lately, I've been doing a lot more books again. So if you're new, welcome. Go ahead, subscribe, hit that like button, and join my little community here on YouTube. And if you're not new here, then welcome back. Thank you for coming back to my channel. And happy Christmas, Merry Christmas. Actually, just to everybody, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Actually, Christmas was yesterday. It's a little bit late, but that's okay. When I get this video up, you'll get the gist. It's Christmas time. It's a season of giving, remembering Jesus, everything like that. So if you're new or if you're returning, Merry Christmas. Now, I am so excited to show you guys my reading journal for this upcoming year. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into this video. Like I said, I do use a binder, and I'm so sorry for kind of like the slanted camera angle in a way. I don't have a true tripod that gives me a full bird's eye view, so we are sticking with the tripod that I do have, so it's a little bit different. But like I said, I do have this binder and I've been using this for going on 3 years now. So when we first open it up, we are starting with 2023's book journal. I had this font and I stuck with this style technically for this year and also last year. So the most common things is my ratings and of course little book goals that I have for each year. So like in this year, I had a total number of books to read this year, 25. I had my physical TBR at the start of the year, which I didn't count. What I want it to be at the end of the year, certain months that I want to have as no buys, any new authors that I do want to read, or if I got to any new authors. And then this little section down here is the favorite books of each month, and I had my overall favorite of the year underlined, and also I put favorite right there. This 2023 was just a little bit shorter, and I really learned a lot using this, but I like to format my book journal in a whole year's worth, where I'm doing it month to month each time I finish a book, and I don't have to go in every week or every day or every month even and create an entirely new layout, an entirely new spread. I hope that makes sense. I think you'll see a little bit more when I go on. The next two pages are basically my physical TBR. These were books that I wanted to read. I only had at the time like 64, and I crossed off a fair amount of my books, and I don't think this included some books that were on my physical TBR that were in the entertainment center. And also this one I added in twice and it was just kind of sloppy. There's some things that I definitely didn't do right about this and I kind of corrected later on. It just wasn't my overall favorite, but I did keep the format. And then we go into the classic reading log. So we have the date that we started and finished the book, the title, the author, the genre that I wanted to include, because sometimes some books have multiple genres, the number of pages in that book, and also of course my star rating. This year in particular, in 2023, I listed every 5 books and I circled it on the side. I did not do that in 2024. I just kind of think it looked a little bit messy. And also I switched a few things up on this page, but kept the overall layout and format, or template, I guess you could say. Then we have our final sheet of the reading log, and then my yearly wrap up. This is some things that when I do my yearly wrap up, I will be doing in a couple days. What I like to talk about, statistics. This one was a little bit messed up, but I didn't want to reprint it. Yeah, overall we had the year, the original book goal for the year, the number of books I did read, which in this year our original goal was 25, and my top number I read, because I always try and do 2 goals, was actually 60 books, so it was 240% more than our original goal. How many books did I DNF? Technically, I only DNF'd 1 book, but it was a soft book. It was Addie LaRue. Number of 5 stars read. I have that statistic down as well, which of course was 9. And then in this section, we have my most rated book on Goodreads with the rating, and then the least rated book on Goodreads. My most rated was Throne of Betrayal by Brianna Wilson with a 4.66 because she doesn't have that many and everybody has loved that book. That was actually my favorite book of the year. And then we have A Secret Kept by Tatiana D. Sophie Rosne with a rating of 3.36. The longest book I read that year, and then also the shortest, the longest being Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix with 870 pages, and then the shortest being The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe from Narnia. It's the second book in the series with 86 pages. And then this bottom section, we just have my most read genres, my favorite genres, favorite series, and any books that surprised me, which I'm not going to go into full detail with that, but you kind of get the gist of that. Coming into 2024, like I said, I pretty much overall kept the same template. I added a couple more in, but I just did things a little bit different, a little bit more neat, I guess you could say. I'm going to go more into my 2024 reading journal just because this is the one that we actually want to talk about as we move forward to 2025. So if we first start with my ratings, 1 stars is usually my DNFs. It's the what is this type books. If I DNF'd it, I usually put it as a 1 star, which I don't normally DNF books in general. 2 stars is not a fan at all. Glad that I finished it. 3 stars is pretty good. Might recommend, but definitely not a favorite book. 4 stars is it is amazing, but it just didn't have that 5-star feeling. And then 5 stars is had that feeling, probably watched it as a movie. I'll remember it for weeks or more. Over here for the book goals this year, we have number of books to read this year, which I started as 20. And then my physical TBR at the start of the year, I had over 70 plus books. I didn't count them all because we moved and I forgot to count them before. So pretty much by the time we got into this house, I had at least over 70. And I want to be, in theory, below 70 books by the end of this year. My no-buy months were January, June, and December. Any new authors that I wanted to read were just V.E. Schwab and Mia Sheridan, which I did actually read both of them, which is really great. I just finished a book by Mia Sheridan today. And here's where I changed from the previous year. I put any other goals, and in that section I put down rate better. I wanted to write reviews out just a little bit more and just think about how I'm gonna rate it more as I'm reading it, and then of course when I finish it. Read more genres, which I kind of did, but mainly I just wanted to mood read this year, not necessarily try and keep up because I knew we had a big year this year. Then of course we have my favorite books of each month. We are in December. I think I already know what my favorite book of this month is going to be, but just for right now, we're just gonna keep it like this. So for January, my favorite book was Beautiful Darkness. February was All the Light We Cannot See. March was Beautiful Redemption. April and also May, we moved around that time period and I just was in a very big slump, life slump. A lot of things were going on in our life, so I didn't read a single book. Those are of course NA. In June, I finished The Wish and that was my favorite book. July was Caraval. August was Finale, and September was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. October was The Stand. November was Airborne. For December, I think I'm gonna put the second book of this trilogy. It is Skybreaker. So on this next page, we actually have the physical books. Same thing as the last time, I just made it a little bit more neat. So if I got rid of a book, which you'll see some of these in particular with a line through them are the ones that I got rid of, donated, etc. And all the ones that are numbered but also crossed out are all the books that I did tackle this year currently. And then of course we have my blank ones that I have not got to. Then we have 2 more pages of my physical TBR. Like I said, I had a lot more. If you included all of my old books, which I didn't read a lot of them, they were all in the entertainment center, I had 121 books in total that I wrote down on here. And I had 1 DNF. This next page is where I added in a couple different templates for my whole year. So first I wanted to do the 24 books that I want to read in 2024. I also messed up on this. We will go through each one and then tell you why I messed up. If you've already seen that video on the 25 books I want to get in 2025, you might understand what I was talking about. First we have Throne of Wings and Ash. This is the second book to Throne of Betrayal. That book has not actually come out. Arcs are starting to roll out, so I get a freebie on number 1. I just finished Archer's Voice today, so I get to cross that off. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue I read. All the Light We Cannot See I read. Chronicles of Narnia, that was a book, all of the stories in one. So I wrote that down, and I think this is where I started messing up, is because I put this down first. I did read it, I did finish it because I started it the previous year. But then number 6 was the Shadow Hunters universe. If you know about that series or that whole universe, it's 20 something books or so. I was not getting to that. I don't know if I just meant the 3 that I owned, so that's where I first started messing up. I put entire series, or in this case, universes. Then we have Airborne, Skybreaker, and Star Climber, the Matt Kruse trilogy. I did just tackle that at the end of November and in this month of December. Then 10 we have the Ravenhood trilogy, and I only have the first book, did not get to that. We do have Girl in Pieces, which I did get to. Wasn't a big fan of that. And then number 12 was the Lunar Chronicles, which I have 3 of the 5, I do believe, books. Didn't tackle that at all. Then we have Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I have the first 3, the original trilogy. Out of those 4, 2024, but I didn't get to those. Caraval, Legendary, and Finale I did get to, and I don't mind how I actually added all these separate. That makes sense, like the Airborne and stuff. That all makes sense. I think that was a good layout, but definitely for 2025, I did not set this up, or I guess 25's list, like this. I was a little bit more cautious about how I was writing it down and realistic with my books. So then on number 20, we had the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series. I'm not even gonna explain that. And my last four are actually the Beautiful Creatures series, which I tackled all of that. Beautiful Creatures, Beautiful Darkness, Beautiful Chaos, and also Beautiful Redemption. So with my book goal tracker page, I have always set 2 book goals for the most part once I started really trying to read more and doing book YouTube. So my first book goal was only at 20. I wanted my second one, since I hit last year's, I wanted my second one to be 55. I did not get there. As you can see, I'm at 36. I might be at 37 by the end of this month, but otherwise I will not be anywhere close to 55. I do like seeing this because it's nice to see, hey, as long as I hit that first goal, I'm good. If I can get to the second goal, that's a great bonus, a great accomplishment. However, it is not a priority or it's not mandatory. So next we have my reading log. Like I said, I pretty much kept it relatively the same. The only difference is I only did the month and the day instead of also adding the year, so it's a little bit neater. I also have a few dots randomly, which go by genre. I put that dot there, and on the next slide you will be able to see. And also, for the most part, on every single one of these genres, I picked the first genre that I wanted instead of doing multiple. When I wanted to either DNF or even not rate a certain book, I would just put a line through it. And I added 2 different ones at 4.5 stars. I feel like this, besides this one little mess up here, I feel like this reading log looks so much better. It was a little bit more neat, and I hope next year's will be just as neat, if not better. Another 2 pages that I introduced this year was my genre tracker and my reading stats. One of my book goals was to read more genres, and in theory I kind of did, but I just kind of stuck to, I feel like, the basic 5. So we have autobiography, biography, Christian, sci-fi, YA sci-fi, thriller, mystery, dystopian. We had other right here, and then romance fiction, YA fiction, fantasy, and YA fantasy. So when I had other, this is where, when we flip back to this page on the reading log, I would have this dot, and each one would be something different. I didn't think about, like, this one in particular is historic fiction. We did not have historic fiction on here, but I didn't want to label it as fiction. And then we had another one that was non-fiction. For some reason I didn't have that, or even just history, historical fiction, and horror, because that was Stephen King. So going into my 2024 reading stats, again, we have where I'm missing just December. I don't want to add this up just yet, so I know some things are going to be kind of incomplete, but that's okay. I have it laid out, so every single time I did my reading wrap up, this would correlate with statistics. So I just have books read in each month, pages read, and also how many 5 stars I potentially tackled. The only difference is this one, I did have that one DNF, so I did write it underneath. In January, I read 10 books, also read 2,410 pages. I had 0 5 stars. February, I read 5 books at 2,074 pages and had 1 5 star. March, I had 4 books read, 1,455 pages, and 1 5 star as well. Like I said, April and May, I read 0 books. June, I read 2 books at 760 pages with 1 5 star. July, I read 2 books at 846 pages with 1 5 star. August, I read 4 books at 1,507 pages but 0 5 stars. September, I read 3 books at 1,090 pages and had 1 5 star. And then in October, I only tackled 1 book, which was The Stand by Stephen King, and it was 1,153 pages long. I had 0 5 stars in that month. November was a kind of bad month in a way, just because I had that DNF, but we only read 1 book. I DNF'd a book, so 2 books I guess technically, and I read 355 pages with also 1 5 star. And finally, my last page in my 2024 reading journal was my yearly wrap up. Like I said, by the time we actually get to my yearly wrap up video, this will be all completed. I did fill out a few things that I knew about, but otherwise I'm gonna leave some of this blank just because I'm not finished with the month. So of course our year is 2024. My original book goal this year was 20. As of right now, I've read 36 books, but we'll see if I get to 37 or more. How many books did I not finish or were DNF'd? So far, only 1. Hopefully that will be my only one this year. We have 6 5 star reads from the last page, but I also had a 5 star in December, so 7 in total so far for this year. And number of pages read, I'm not gonna add all that up right now because I know it's a lot, but I'm looking hopefully at like 15,000. I don't know. It will be in that yearly wrap up video, the statistics at the end. Same with the most rated and the least rated book on Goodreads. But for my longest and my shortest book read, I knew these 2 were going to be them. So for my longest book, of course it's The Stand, like I already said, by Stephen King. It's 1153 pages. The shortest book that I owned was actually The Last Battle by C.S. Lewis. This was only 98 pages. And for my most read genres, instead of writing them all down with each number like I did the previous year, I'm only writing my top 2 ones down. So I have romance and fantasy. I will eventually fill in the number depending on if I read any more. Same with favorite genres, except for I'm not going to add in the count this year, but my favorite personal favorite ones are fantasy and YA sci-fi. My favorite series this year is the Beautiful Creatures series, Caraval trilogy, and the Matt Kruse trilogy, and any books that surprise me. As of right now that we're looking at, I have All the Light We Cannot See, Beautiful Redemption, Legendary, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, and I have to say Skybreaker from the Matt Kruse trilogy is also going onto this list. And that is all I have for my 2023 and 2024 book journal, but let's go ahead and get into my 2025 book journal. This year, I felt like I was tired of the typical font. I wanted it to change just a little bit, so I switched a few things up. I also added in little details throughout each and every one of these pages and a couple more templates. So we still have my book journal information page. We still have the typical ratings, just change the font. And also, for the most part, I have the exact same book goal. So I have the number of books I want to read this year, my physical TBR at the start of the year, and also the goal for the end of the year. I have my no-buy months and any authors I want to read and any of my extra goals that I might have. And then just the same, I have my months and favorite books of each month. I feel like this isn't as exciting because I just changed the font, but we have my physical TBR and books to read that I will, of course, fill this out and mark just like the last 2 years. Both of these templates are actually brand new additions to this, except for, of course, last year I had the 24 books. Now I have my 25 books I want to read in 2025, and also a 2025 reading bingo challenge. This is a new one, and I can only cross off 1 space per book. So with the 25 books I want to read in 2025, I had to kind of keep the same format for the most part, change some things around, and I really like the font. I like how I did it this year, and also added butterflies because I wanted every page to just have something going on it, so it wasn't so plain. With the reading bingo, I completely changed the background to a darker gray. I think this looks really good, especially how it printed out. It kept it with a white border. This is the only page that's darker. So just in case you want to get any ideas, let me read out each and every space. So first, turned into a movie or a show, an autobiography, biography, or memoir. I just decided to classify all 3 of those together because I don't necessarily just have a collection of autobiographies or biographies or memoirs. I have one of each pretty much. Then I have a book under 500 pages, a female author, a YA book, a book with chapter titles. When I finish a series, I can cross off a space. A reread, I have this one in particular for Throne of Betrayal when she comes out with her 2nd book. A 5-star read, a book with a mostly blue cover, a romance book, a book rated 3 stars lower on Goodreads. Technically this is a free space, but I just put it as a book on my TBR. A book with a map, a book over 500 pages, an award-winning book, start a new series, read a new author, a fantasy book, a male author, 2-word title, a thrifted book, a thriller, a first book in a trilogy, and finally a book rated 4 stars or higher on Goodreads. Then we kept my book goal tracker, having 2 different book goals. My first one is at 30 and my second one is actually at 65. I'm bumping both of those up just a little bit this year, pretty much by 5 on that one and then 10 on this one. And I had, because it's a goal, for some reason was thinking of mountains. I have mountains and birds, and I thought that was really cute. And then we have my classic reading log. Nothing special, just changed the font, added in a couple of flowers. I am very proud of this genre tracker, and I kind of did this in reference to Throne of Betrayal and how I kind of thought about that book in particular. It's a fantasy, more like a romance fantasy, a romantasy, and I just felt like the flowers and everything just reminded me of that world in a great way. So I just kept, for the most part, the same genres. I have autobiography, historical fiction this year, Christian, sci-fi, non-fiction, thriller, mystery, dystopian, other, romance, fiction, YA fiction, fantasy, and YA fantasy. Then we have my 2025 reading stats. Again, it's the same with how many books I've read each month, how many pages I read, and also how many 5 stars I had. And then the final page is, of course, my yearly wrap up, and I kept all the questions, everything pretty much the same, just changed the font and also added flowers. This is my new reading journal for the upcoming year, and if I really wanted to, I could always make a new template, print it out, and put it anywhere in this reading journal that I wanted it, and that is why I love it so much. If I run out of space, I can always make a second page, and of course, move pages about. I know the traditional reading journal is a really good idea, but if you're ever curious about templates, definitely you can always make your own or even get some for free offline and print those out. I actually enjoy making my own and using them every single year. And here is to year 2025. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you're also curious of any book related video, photography video, or if you happen to enjoy vehicles, I do have a playlist for each of those categories here on my channel. My book playlist will be linked in the description. And also, if you haven't checked out our home library makeover, or even our empty house tour, you can go check that out. I have that under a playlist that's called Making a House a Home, and that only has, I think, 3 videos in it total. We're still kind of getting there. We haven't done too much to our house since moving in, but I do have 3 videos in that. They're kind of, for the most part, short and sweet, except for the library video. That will be also linked down in the description. And as always, thank you all so much for watching this video. Thank you for coming to my channel. I hope to see you in another video here on my channel, and of course, God bless.